we come to the third and the final talk, which is by Dragan Jankovic. Dragan Jankovic is an assistant professor at the Department of Psychology, University of Belgrade, Serbia. He received his PhD in psychology in 2015 from University of Belgrade. He is a member of a lab of experimental psychology in Belgrade research group in ergonomics, psychology, aesthetics, Gestalt in Bamberg, Germany, and member of a program committee of Technical Science Center. He teaches several courses in all levels belonging to the area of psychology art, psychology of emotion, and development of psychology. His research is mainly focused on psychological aesthetics, affective processing, multi-sensory perception, and development psychology, with particular interest in the role of emotions in aesthetic experiences and aesthetic development. His additional interests are in the field of visual arts, music, VR, and design. And his topic today is art experience in VR, a question of ecological validity. So Dragan, here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kang. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Dragan Jankovic from the Department of Psychology, University of Belgrade, and today I will talk about art experience in virtual reality compared to some other contexts in which we usually experience art. When we talk about art experience, we usually have in mind some real-world art-related contexts like art galleries and museums. However, studying art experience in real-world context is often problematic for us in the field of empirical aesthetics because we lose a lot of experimental control while testing in the field. We also lack the power of randomization to neutralize order effects, and also usually artworks interact with physical and social environment. On the other hand, most of the art today we experience in the form of two-dimensional digital images presented on computer screen. Having art experience on computer screen gives us more experimental control, but also it's problematic because we lose a lot of properties of the original artworks, for example, texture, size, material, three-dimensionality, but also some contextual characteristics. Recent developments of digital technologies in the field of virtual reality gave us opportunity to study and to experience actually art in realistically simulated real-world contexts like virtual galleries and virtual museums. Here we can include more properties of the original artworks, and also we can personalize and extend our experiences in this kind of environments, because we can include some artworks that doesn't exist in physical world, that are produced and created in VR or for VR. Today I will present results of two studies that we conducted in a laboratory for experimental psychology at Belgrade University. The aim of the first study was to compare experience of visual artworks in virtual reality museum context with experience of the same artwork presented on an ordinary computer screen. And the aim of the second study I will present today is to compare virtual reality with some real-world settings to test VR for ecological validity. To be more precise, the goal was to compare the structure and intensity of aesthetic and affective experiences of artworks exhibited in real gallery with the experience of the same artwork exhibited in the simulation of the same gallery in the fully immersive virtual reality environment. 40 volunteers participated in first study. They had no or very little previous experience with virtual reality, and they had no special training in art production or art perception. We used in the study 12 paintings from a wide range of Western art epochs. We used digital images in high resolution, and also we used surface scanning tool in order to capture some surface details of paintings, such as brush strokes or some specific light reflections from the painting. Here, you can see how we did it on two paintings. This is Picasso and Mondrian from National Museum in Belgrade. And actually, we collected a lot of high resolution images of the surface by moving light around the paintings. And so at the end, we combined four layers of this kind of information into one dynamic layer. This is how it looked like at the end. This is in virtual reality, me inspecting from the close distance this Picasso painting. As you can see, this is a real-time rendering. As you can see, we can easily obtain some brush strokes and some relief there, but also some different reflections from different parts of the same painting. This provides us with much more information and more quality experience than just to have an ordinary digital image. Here we can see in Mondrian painting some imperfections and some cracks on the original painting. So it was good to have this quality of experience for the participants in the study. As I said, the same paintings were presented in VR gallery and on computer screen. We use set of rating scales to measure static experience, but also affective experience of each painting for participants. Half of the participants first rated their experience of paintings in VR and then on computer screen setting, and the other half rated artworks in opposite order of content. At the end, we had some qualitative data collection phase. We had some interview. We wanted to hear from participants what their experience of a virtual museum was. Here is how it looked like for participants when they entered into the virtual museum. This virtual museum was created from the scratch. We used the VRL platform. We used HTC Vive Pro headset with one controller in the hand of participants. Participants used this kind of teleportation method for move inside the gallery for longer distances, and once they were in front of the painting, they had 3 meters by 3 meters area where they could physically move and inspect paintings from close or from distance. Results showed that aesthetic experience was very similar in both presentation modes. However, VR showed increased liking. Simply, aesthetic experience was of much more intensity in VR, compared to simply looking at that same paintings on the computer screen. We measured affective experience through few main dimensions. Valence was measured by pleasantness, and as we can see, participants experience paintings to be the same pleasant in both contexts. However, VR showed much more arousal increased arousal in participants. Participants experienced paintings in VR as being much more impressive than when they look at them on a PC screen. There were no differences in experienced artistic value or quality of the presenting paintings. But also we were surprised to see that paintings in VR were experienced as being less familiar for participants than the same paintings when they look at them on a computer screen. Also, participants in VR were more motivated to know more about paintings than when they looked at that paintings on a computer screen. This can be important, for example, for the future use of VR museums and galleries as education tools in schools. It's good to have increased motivation to know more. Okay, in second study, 43 participants were included in study. About 60% of them had little previous experience with VR. That means they tried it 1 or 2 times, and 40% didn't have any previous experience with virtual reality. We used 12 as a stimuli. We used 12 original paintings by the same author in a real world gallery, and in VR gallery we used digital images, high resolution of same paintings, and we of course kept the original dimensions, frames, and every other detail. As a testing site, we used Elster Gallery in Belgrade, and as a VR gallery, we used replica of Elster Gallery in VR. Here you can see print screen of the virtual gallery when participants enter into the gallery. This is what they see. It was a little bit challenging to completely make replica with all details. For example, original paintings in a physical gallery, they had glass in front of them, so we had to recreate that in virtual reality. So reflections of light were actually dynamic and somehow follow what's going on in gallery. The only actually what we scanned was this concrete floor in order to have the same impression like in a physical gallery. We applied similar procedure in this study as in the first study. The same paintings were presented in both contexts. And in both contexts, questions were asked orally by the researchers. You can see both situations here. We measured aesthetics experience with two measures, two scales that are most often used in this field, liking and ugly beautiful scale. As we can see here, ratings were very similar in VR gallery and real gallery. Correlation of those ratings were 0.95 for liking and 0.91 for ugly beauty scale. However, there were no differences. There were no statistically significant differences in aesthetic experience in these two different contexts. Arousal was also measured with two scales, impressiveness and interestingness. Here we can see correlation of 0.96 and 0.94 for those two scales. And again, there were no statistically significant differences in experienced arousal in these two different contexts. Valence was measured on the scale unpleasant-pleasant. Again, highly correlated and no statistical difference in these two contexts. And cognitive evaluation was measured with familiarity and meaningfulness. Similar situation, they are highly correlated, and there were no differences in VR gallery compared to a real gallery. Scale, I would like to know more about this painting. Was also highly correlated, no statistically significant differences, and behavioral tendency, like in the scale, I would like to buy this painting, was very similar in the real gallery and virtual gallery, suggesting that virtual galleries can also be in the future significant art marketplace, similar in similar way like real galleries are. According to Watson model, aesthetic experience of artworks can be substantially explained by basic dimensions of affective experience, valence, arousal, and cognitive evaluation. And we tested this model in laboratory and computer screen settings, and also in real gallery. And here, for the first time, actually, we tested one aesthetic experience model, how it will behave in virtual reality. As we can see here, a linear combination of three affective dimensions: pleasantness, arousal, and cognitive evaluation, explained 92% of variance of aesthetic experience in VR setting, and 94% of variance of aesthetic experience in real gallery settings. All three affective dimensions were significant predictors of aesthetic experience. So we could actually conclude that aesthetic experience is predicted by the same structure of affective dimensions in VR and real world context, which is with information of correlation of experiences in these two contexts. Also important information if we want to talk about ecological validity of VR as the context for art. We also had that group of qualitative data, and this analysis showed that VR museums were for participants positive and exciting experience. They use words interesting and pleasant to explain their experience. There were also realistic experience for participants. They used explanation like it looks real, you feel like you are in real gallery. Some of the participants told us that they would prefer to have possibility to physically move through the gallery all the time. So we now have equipment which give us opportunity to let them to be free and to move freely wirelessly in much bigger areas and virtual galleries. It was interesting to see how people react for social context. Actually, this time they were alone in gallery, and it was strange that half of participants were strict that they preferred to be alone because they could focus much more on the paintings in virtual gallery, and the other half were strict to say it was strange for us. I would like, for me, I would like to have some other people in the gallery. I would feel better. Also, there were no avatars this time. It was first person perspective, so we asked them about that. Most of them didn't even notice that that they don't have a body in VR, and most of participants concluded that virtual gallery can be good alternative to real gallery. To conclude, results of this study suggested that different contexts influence some aspects of art experience. For example, compared to PC screen, art in VR showed increased liking. Participants experienced painting in VR to be more impressive, to be less familiar to them, and they showed high motivation to know more about artworks. VR appears to be a significantly better context for experiencing art than computer screen, both in aesthetic and affective domains. Results also show that there is high positive correlation of aesthetic and affective experiences in virtual reality real world settings. However, they also showed that there were no differences in intensity of the aesthetic and affective experiences in VR compared to real world. Qualitative data suggested that VR galleries and museums are positive, interesting, and realistic experience for participants and good alternative to real galleries. Results suggested actually that VR galleries can be an ecologically valid environment for exhibiting visual art, and useful tool for future research of art experience. And also, these results are, let's say, encouraging for the future use of VR in different sectors, including art, culture, science, and education. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dragan, for the nice talk. Okay, so do we have any questions specifically for Dragan, Dr. Jankovic from the audience? Maybe Dragan, I can ask you a question. So in your experiment, each participant actually is tested for both VR and the PC, or it's exclusive. One subject only tested for the PC, the other subject only for the VR.
No, we had repeated measures. Here, the same group of participants experienced both contexts. First one, and then second, and the other group, different order of context. But the same people rated same artworks in two different contexts.
Two different contexts. Then would that kind of experience would affect, right? The if I have already viewed this piece of work in PC, then I viewed it in VR.
Yes.
Would affect?
Yes. That is why we counterbalance the design. So it was in some way counterbalanced. So both groups actually walk through the same two situations. So at the end, results showed that there were no significant main effect of order of presentation. So
Okay. I see. Okay. Because
and
I thought that was a learning effect, right? Which is called learning effect. You are more expert on that.
yeah. And what was here interesting in this study, and we were thinking about it when participants were in virtual reality environment, in virtual gallery, actually they showed increased arousal. So we didn't know actually, and this arousal is what transfers into the increased aesthetic experience. And actually, we didn't know is this really long-term effect of virtual museums and galleries. That means if even participants are experienced user of virtual reality, they will still prefer art in VR compared to PC, or it is short-term effect of the novelty of technology, because most of our participants just try it once or twice or never tried. So that arousal can be actually reaction to novelty of situation. It's interesting for them, and that can prime their experiences of artwork. So we still don't know that until we check that assumption. Some new study when we have two groups of participants, one with experienced users of VR and novices in the other group.
Okay. Interesting. Any other questions specifically for you? Let me see. I wonder if you have used some. Yeah. Okay. This question is yeah, two questions for you. Besides taking a qualitative questionnaire, what other methods have you used to compare the gallery experience of a different visiting way? Different ways of visiting, you know, apart from qualitative questionnaire, any other method?
We had quantitative and qualitative part of questionnaire. Quantitative part included 10 rating scales going from 1 to 10 that were bipolar scales. For example, how participants experienced that painting as unpleasant or pleasant from 1 to 10. The boring, interesting, and other scales that measure aesthetic and experience. So 10 rating scales from 1 to 10 as a quantitative phase, and semi-structured interview as a qualitative.
I see. There is a other kind of a related question to this one. So what other methods are generally used to do a VR psychology experiment?
It depends what you are interested in. For example, if you are dealing with subjective experiences, with phenomenology, with affective experience, aesthetic experience, you usually use this kind of methodology, just quantitative or combination of quantitative and qualitative. But for example, if you are interested in some cognitive processing, perceptual processing, you can also use eye tracking in real gallery, or we are now preparing to do study with art tracking in VR. Art tracking is VR headset, so we can analyze different kind of data that shows us how visitors, for example, react on when they're faced with the art. So, e.g., galvanic skin response.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think there's one more question for you, but we will move forward to the next session about the panel.